Millions of dogs and cats are euthanized each year. Shouldn't we be doing something to change that? Dogs and cats are the most common household pet, and most people find them very easy to care for and love. Sadly, though, these animals often find themselves neglected and thrown in shelters where they are tasked to find a new family. In today's world, it's important to know the facts and understand the benefits of adopting a dog rather than purchasing a new puppy from a breeder or a pet store. My family is one that has had the opportunity to both purchase a puppy and a dog set for euthanization. While having a puppy was set with many perks and I enjoyed going through that process with my puppy, adopting my dog just gave the process a whole different feel. When that dog would not have been alive if it wasn't for you coming in there and adopting him and bringing him home, it really changes up the connection that you have with him. Through this personal experience, I have found that dogs are just like the rest of us. They just want to be loved and feel like they fit in wherever they find themselves being. Many of us are going to make the exciting decision to get a pet one day, while some of us won't really think about it and will just run to the local pet store or run to the local breeder. It's much more important to think deeply about the decision to deny rescue if you're one of those people. By rescuing pets, you help to reduce the animals that are left in shelters year over year and that don't make it out of shelters. You spend less money than buying an animal, buying a new puppy would, and you combat breeding mills, which are a huge problem in America today. In America, there's an obvious and profound problem with the number of animals that are being brought into shelters. According to an article that was posted in the National Library of Medicine, between 6 and 8 million dogs and cats are taken into the shelters each year. And when you take into account the Humane Society statistic that 3 million of these animals are going to be euthanized each year, you realize that it's more of a gamble with life or death whenever you get put in one of these shelters. Another huge problem with these shelters is how overcrowding has become such a huge epidemic. You know, when these shelters are overrun with animals that are brought in, they oftentimes have to find more space to put these animals. Per that National Library of Medicine article, this leads to them putting animals of the same species together, even if they're unfamiliar with one another. This can cause stress and potentially provoke uh, outrage from these animals that are just natural instincts to them, but this outrage can often not be typical good shelter behavior and could end up getting them euthanized. When considering rescue rather than purchasing a puppy, the costs could not be any more different. When researching puppies around my area, and that's in South Central Pennsylvania, but I more specifically did this on puppies.com, there was no price for puppies that was under $1,500. This does not take into account any of the vet bills, any of the vet exams, the vaccines that they may need, or maybe even like registering the dog itself. The cost for uh, going to a shelter and rescuing an animal could not be any different. According to Chewy, the cost for rescuing an animal is anywhere between $50 and $350. These fees are normally just used to cover basic veterinarian bills, such as microchipping or any last second vaccines that they may need. Finally, it's important to discuss the fact that puppy mills and kitten mills are where these animals are coming from that you buy in these pet stores or from these breeders. These breeding mills neglect the mother by keeping them in cages for their entire life and only using them to produce offspring. When these mothers get too old, they're oftentimes discarded and killed and just replaced with the next mother to come in. According to the Humane Society, there are over 10,000 active puppy mills in America alone, with 500,000 of these dogs being used only for breeding purposes. There is only one concrete way to take control and stop the breeding mills, and that's to just stop giving them business. At rescue shelters, the staff consists mainly of volunteers who give their time to solely the betterment of the animals in the shelter. At these breeding mills, the people running them are solely doing this for profit and without care for the animals or the animals' well being. In conclusion, it's crucial to think about all the factors when buying a pet. Not only is it important to understand the number of dogs and cats that go unclaimed and die each year in shelters, but it's also important to understand the financial impact that you will have when going to buy an animal. When you rescue an animal, you are paying much less and you're able to use more money on other pet expenses that may pop up in the process of purchasing a new pet. Finally, it's important to take these breeding mills down as they are unethical and cause much more harm than they do good. Rescuing animals is so much more than just saving a damaged animal and taking them in for a time being in their life. It's a choice that you can make to change the animal breeding industry in our country.